It's Monaco, baby! This weekend the Monaco Grand Prix is on, and ahead of the event, as always, guys, I'm going to take a look at the 5 most incredible, most magical, most memorable moments from the Principality on the Mediterranean coast over the years. This race has been on the calendar since the very start of Formula 1 in 1950, and its history stretches all the way back to 1929, almost 100 years ago. But which are my picks for the favourite moments, the most incredible moments over the decades? Let's dive in. So, we're going to start in 1982 for an absolutely insane race that nobody really seemed to want to win, which isn't true, of course. Everybody wants to win around Monaco, but in the closing stages of this race, the leader was changing hands so much, and they were dropping like flies. Alain Prost led the majority of this race, but late on it did start to sprinkle with rain, which may well have hurt him going through the chicane at the harbour. He crashed heavily in his Renault and was out of the race. Riccardo Patrese then assumed the lead of the race, but in the closing stages he ended up spinning at the hairpin. Again, the rain potentially playing a part in that. Didier Pironi in his Ferrari then took over the lead, but he ran out of fuel. Andrea De Cesaris would have took the lead, but he too ran out of fuel in the closing stages of the Grand Prix. It seemed for a long time as though nobody was able to take the checkered flag, and indeed the commentary from the BBC from James Hunt is something I will always remember, not from the time I wasn't around at the time, but I have watched this back many times, where he said we seem to be in this ridiculous situation right now where nobody is seeming to cross the line. We're waiting for a winner, but nobody is coming. And eventually, incredibly, it was Riccardo Patrese who managed to get going again after spinning his car and took what was his first Grand Prix victory in Formula 1. Go watch the closing stages of that race back. Absolute insanity. One of the all-time greats. One of the all-time great performances as well in Formula 1, and one that I'm going to go in depth with a classic review most likely. It is winning the pole currently as I record this for the classic race review. The 1984 Monaco Grand Prix. They would never, ever even consider racing in these conditions nowadays. It was absolutely lashing down with rain, torrential conditions, again drivers dropping like flies. Alain Prost again was leading this one for the majority of the race, and indeed pretty much the entire race, but he was being chased down by a certain Ayrton Senna, who was driving a Tolman and somehow was catching him at a rate of knots. Now Prost realised this and was calling on the organisers to stop the race. He was saying it was too dangerous, and indeed they did stop the race. They red flagged it early, and honestly I'm going to give my full opinion in that video. I'm going to go more in depth. We're going to do some more research. If I do that video, it's looking like it's going to win the pole, so I'm going to go with that. But yeah, at the time very controversial because Prost actually pulled up by the finish line. Senna overtook him and passed him, and he thought that he won the race, but of course with red flags you go back to the previous lap, so Prost at that point had already won it effectively by leading the previous lap. Senna was absolutely outraged. Go watch the Senna movie. I know it's not a 100% accurate retelling of things. It's very much dramatized, but if you want a more accurate description of what happened there, do go and watch the director's cut of it. It's much longer, but it gives a lot more context. It's a lot more balanced, I think. Everybody should go watch that. People criticize the Senna movie for being biased, and yes, it absolutely is, but it's very good. It's very entertaining, but if you want a more balanced look, go and watch the director's cut. I do highly recommend it. But we're talking about Senna Prost again in 1988, and this time they were teammates at McLaren. Senna produced what many people think to be the greatest qualifying lap of all time, and I find it very difficult to disagree with that sentiment. He beat Alain Prost in qualifying by 1.5 seconds to take pole position, an unbelievable feat. And in the race, he again proved that he was an absolute legend of the sport. There's a reason why I'm wearing this Brazilian shirt at the end of the day. Senna and Monaco just go hand in hand, absolutely. But yeah, 1988, he was like, 50 seconds clear of Prost. He wasn't far off a lap clear. And his team basically came onto the radio and said, look, slow down. You know, we don't need you to be going this quick. You've got the race won. but he didn't have it won. He crashed. He crashed at the Portiere, I do believe, just before the tunnel. And Senna has said that, he was in the zone that much. He was in the tunnel. He kind of achieved a transcendence almost. The way he talks about it, like a spiritual experience. And hearing his team on the radio took him out of that, and he made a mistake and he crashed his car, and Prost won the race. If it wasn't for that, Senna would have won 7 Monaco Grand Prix on the bounce, if I'm not mistaken. That was the only one he didn't win in that streak. And that streak did include, of course, 1992 later on. Nigel Mansell in a far superior Williams had the pole position, was leading by miles, but he got a puncture. He got a puncture in the closing stage to the race, and that pit stop put him behind Ayrton Senna. Senna was not in the best of cars at that point. The McLaren was a long way behind the Williams at that point. Every car was, in truth. The active suspension made by a certain Adrian Newey was absolutely just clear everybody at that point. But, of course, Senna produced one of the greatest defensive performances I have ever seen. Unbelievable driving for him to keep Mansell behind and win his 5th Monaco Grand Prix. He matched Graham Hill, Mr. Monaco, that afternoon, and nobody saw that coming with just about 10 laps or so to go. It all changed on that puncture for Mansell. And the final race I'm going to highlight, 1996, nearly 30 years ago now. Man, I'm feeling old. Incredible victory for Olivier Panis. I think he was 16th on the grid and won the Monaco Grand Prix. And the reason why he won it was because he just kept his nose clean, basically. Again, everybody was dropping out like flies. This race actually holds the record for the least number of finishes in a Formula 1 Grand Prix. Only the podium sitters actually managed to finish the race. The other two, off the top of my head, being David Coulthard and Johnny Herbert. Of course, do correct me if I'm wrong with that. But yeah, leaders, again, they just kept dropping out. Damon Hill had an engine failure. Jean Alesi, I think he had some sort of brake failure or something, some sort of mechanical issue that kept him in the pits. Michael Schumacher crashed out. I think Jacques Villeneuve crashed out. Hakkinen crashed out. Everybody crashed out, apart from 3 of them. Unbelievable stuff. One of the all-time great races. Pure chaos at Monaco. But will we get a classic again this weekend? On current form of Monaco, probably not. But the new rule with those 2 pit stops, I think that will definitely help. The softer tyres, that will definitely help. Your thoughts in the comments below, guys. What is your favourite Monaco Grand Prix of all time? I could easily do 10, 15, 20 of them. But these are the 5 for me that very much stand out. Your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always. And have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world today, guys. And we'll see you very soon.